Obviously, I don't regret it, but it was a big move. And then I ended up having a sort of nervous system collapse. And I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome and able to leave my job and go through various miracles that happened, which was all around that time when I was seeing you. Lots of miracles unfolded, which I won't go into now, but we ended up moving up to near Byron Bay and in a beautiful country property. And I went and studied music full time, did a music degree. So all of the intentions that I'd set out happened. And a lot of that was through personal development and processes, through books and courses of, say, for example, I'm just potted history, but say with manifesting, writing down where I wanted to live, what it looked like, that I wanted to study music full time. All of these were huge goals, and at the time in the corporate world I had no idea how I was going to manifest that happen.
Well, darling one, you've done it.
I've done it.
You're doing amazing work, and you're living the dream. Although the thing about living the dream is you're still, all of us, we still bump up against all the challenges that life brings us, like tech problems and all that stuff. But tell us the story about, I love the story that you and David told about your wedding, because you came from all these different places. You had the corporate world, you had the 12-step program world, you had the personal growth world, you had the spiritual world, sort of the hippie. So you brought all these people together in your wedding day. And I've always felt like it would make such a great movie, because you just had this hilarious story about what went on there.
Oh, yes.
You got to accentuate the positive. Wow, I feel good. A little bit of feel good goes a long way.
You're listening to Karen Swain, teacher of deliberate creation, accentuating the positive, showing you a way to a better life.
Accentuating the positive, it's not just fad, it's sanity. Who in their right mind would accentuate anything else?
If you feel like that's what you want to do.
Hello and welcome to another show, Accentuating the Positive with Karen Swain. As always, wonderful to be with you again. Please remember to like and subscribe if you're listening to this on YouTube or any of the audio podcast platforms, and send us your comments and tell us what you think. We love hearing from you. And if you want to keep in touch, remember to join the newsletter on my website. Today I have a bit of a delight for you. I've got a friend, an old friend. Well, you're not that old, you're about my age. We're still young.
We are.
But we've known each other for a long time. Who's the most incredible musical galactic goddess? Welcome to the show, Lou Vanstone.
Oh, thanks so much, Karen. I like galactic goddess. I'll take that one. That's great. I love that word, galactic.
Oh, you are a galactic goddess. You are, and you're doing amazing things. And we're going to go into your story, but let me just read out your bio. It's quite a delicious bio, because you get around and you've sort of got, lots of performances under your belt. Lou Vanstone is an internationally renowned celestial singer, multi-instrumentalist and composer. She moves and transforms audiences worldwide with her soaring, ethereal voice. Lou's classical training as a soprano and jazz singer has allowed her a full creative expression using her stunning vocalization, which spans over a 5-octave range, which is pretty impressive, Lou. Having overcome numerous challenges, including the tech challenges we've had today,
Yeah.
and obstacles in her life, this has allowed Lou to be empathic and empathetic to the suffering of others. And so Lou cuts through the clutter of the mind and the body and the congested emotions with potent channeled light language transmissions. Her performances at some of the biggest conscious music events and festivals have been reported, many have reported that there's been a profound metamorphosis at a deep and cellular level. Her music is from the beyond, which can transport you to other dimensions. Lou has recorded 9 albums, including Awakening to the Big Nature Feeling, produced by Rick Price. She's currently working on her latest offering, And There Is Beauty. A celestial sound healing session with Lou can be custom tailored to a specific, most pressing needs that you have at the time. She is delighted to be able to assist you with your process along your life's eternal journey. So there's lots going on, honey.
There is.
And you're up there in Queensland. I'm here in Sydney today. We've both got our fans on because it's a hot day. It's hot in Australia.
It sure is, yes.
So you're not originally, you weren't born here, were you? You were born in the UK, is that right?
Yes, I'm English, yes.
Where-
and I've been here, yes.
Where were you born in England?
I was born actually in the north of England, but that was just, we were there just for a couple of years. I was born in Manchester, but lived most of my life in the south of England, Surrey and Sussex. And then the last 15 years I was there in London.
And
so I did the London corporate thing.
When did you move to Australia?
In 99.
99. That was
Yes.
just before you saw me. I think.
Yes, I met you probably months after I arrived here, within the first year. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and you were pivotal in my journey moving onto a spiritual path.
Well, that's what we discussed. It was really interesting. As a young healer, I didn't, around that time, I didn't quite know what my mandate was, but everyone that came to me, including you, was saying, I want to change my life. I want to make a difference. I want to shift what I'm doing. I'm in the corporate world. I want to get out of it. I don't know who I am. Like, it was all that question, but everyone that I spoke to who came for healings was in that transition. And I started to scratch my head and go, okay, there's something going on here. And I soon realized that I'm a teacher of teachers, and that people that will come to me are in that transition either at the beginning or somewhere down the path. And yeah, so you were pivotal in helping me understand that about myself, because that was really where you were at that time. You were in the corporate world and you were doing quite well.
Yes, I was in the corporate world in advertising, and I've been working in advertising for 15 years probably. Yes. And I got sponsored to come to Australia, and I was working for an advertising agency in Sydney. I was already on just at the very birth of my spiritual path. And,
so
yes.
What happened to put you on your spiritual path?
Okay, well, that's so that's a whole story in itself. I'd always been musical. I'd always been really creative, and I did what's called a shadow career. I now know with more knowledge that I went into the advertising world, as many artists, musicians, singers, writers do. And they may not know that they're artists, singers, musicians, writers, creatives. At the time, and especially at that era, I was trying to access music. I studied piano, and it was all classical piano. I was trying to access pop music, trying to do all of that. Anyway, I'll talk about that bit later, but I was always creative. Went into advertising, worked very hard to get in, got into a top London agency, but I had the same drive that stopped me doing music and drama, because I thought, I don't have enough drive, I'm not good enough, I'm not going to make it in that world. But when I did advertising, I had to still have the same gumption and grit to basically fight to get these top jobs as a creative in an advertising agency. It's a pretty tough world. So anyway, I was in that world, and I learned a lot of skills, and it was wonderful and hard work, stressful. And I look back now and I think it's definitely, I was a woman in a man's world there. I can say that. I wasn't aware of it at the time, but I now know I was pretty naive and not, like, if I would go back then, I would have all these plans and goals in place and ways that I wanted to. But I just wanted to win awards and be liked, basically. It was kind of, that was my motivation. We all just wanted to win awards and be like rock stars, but in the advertising world. And then, long story short, I was also kind of partying quite hard at that time. And I think my delicate little nervous system started to not enjoy the late nights and the drinking and that kind of stuff. And what I would do is work really hard and then party at the weekend, and then Monday morning back in the gym. So really just trying to be the best, and really being pretty hard on myself, I think. And yes.
You know, Diane, well, you know, this story is so common. Like, I look around at the younger generation, they're all, it's like this strive for success. We've got to go over this desire to be successful, and just and just chill. It's just, it's just, anyway.
It's just so relevant that I'm talking about this, because it's such a relevant thing to everybody. It's like, I'm not good enough. Okay, I'm in advertising. This is much. Okay, I want to shine. I've always had this yearning to be seen and to express and to shine. And as a young age, very young age, I said, I want to be famous. I want to express. And I now know a bit more where that comes from. But that was playing out in advertising. And you know, don't get up, don't leave your desk till 7, 8 o'clock at night. And I'll be sitting there starving, hungry, eating peanuts that not too hungry and tired to actually do any thinking work, but I can't be seen to be going home, and then have an hour commute home on the train. You know, really, really extreme.
But it's really how the Western mind has, maybe not just the Western mind, I'm thinking of Japan, their level of stress and striving for success is out of control too, America. But, you know, it's really how our minds have been programmed to sort of pursue this success. You know, back then, Byron's going off in the background.
Yes, it's a beautiful country town here, but yeah, I don't know. Hope everything's all right. Yes.
Straight to the side.
Prayers.
But you know, I used to listen to Deepak Chopra, and he'd say, "Do less and achieve more," and it used to confound me. Like, how do you do less and achieve more? But really, what he was saying is, anything that you want, this strive for success, is not about what you're doing or the harder you're working or anything like that. It's just about the more relaxed you are. It's like the more chilled you are, the more relaxed you are. You clean up that vibration, and it just all unfolds. And it's just such a big message that we need to get across, that whatever you want, you know, like that sort of pursuit, that striving. He used to say, you know, going from striving to arriving.
That's it. That's it. And that is that's my work that I'm doing. That's my focus at the moment in my humanness, is to be in that space. And as an empath, I easily get caught up in how things should be. So that's my daily work, in to be in the same space as I am when I'm in that channeled space, in all aspects of my life. So that's it, rather than, okay, now I'm singing and I've got, you know, the costume on, and I'm doing and the nice lighting, and I'm doing a channeled sound healing, and it's all sacred, to being in that same space of in the present moment, in the moment, no matter what's happening, because it's all one thing. So why would I wear one mask for one thing and then be a different person?
Exactly. So you're in the corporate world.
Yes.
You're stressing out. You're striving to be successful.
Stressing out, striving. Yes.
And did the stress overcome? Like, did you kind of get, you know, freaked out by it?
Yes, it was in two phases. So what happened was, I started to sing. I really loved drinking port and champagne, and I was noticing it. And then one day I was singing to the Carpenters, and really drunk, and blissing out. And with this yearning in my heart, I felt like my heart was going to explode. And I said, I have to go and study singing. I have to do it straight away. So several things happened. Went along, rang up the Royal College of Music in London. I didn't go by half, so I went to the top, and I started lessons with a student there. It was someone who was studying singing there. And then, so that was that part. That started to change things. And then I also started to do personal development work. So my road onto the spiritual path came through, so there was the spirit of alcohol fueling me to sing, and that's where, at the time, where I was connecting with source and spirit, I believe on some level that was a portal which many people, many seekers do find, have gone down that path in their seeking. So I know that I'm not the only person that's looked there. And then so that happened. I started my singing lessons, and then also I started to do personal development work, which involved going to up to the north of England and doing a weekend workshop where we didn't drink alcohol for the whole duration. And then I got high on the personal development aspect, and I really, really was soaking it up like a sponge. And the first weekend I did, I basically sobbed through the whole weekend. No one else was crying, but I was crying. I had some sort of huge release there. And so that opened the window of, I can socialize, I can have fun without alcohol, with being completely straight and not altered in any way. So that opened a portal, chain of events happened, and I said, right, I'm going to stop drinking. And then, which I did, but then I had a big blowout and ended up in this big blackout. There's a lot of things happened. Anyway, I just decided that a very amazing friend of mine took me to an organisation. It suggested I went to a 12-step meeting. I'll say that, I can't say anymore. And I came into a 12-step program through that point, which I know that there's a thing with, yes, so that's my story. That was a huge part of my growth.
Well, it's so interesting because I remember, like probably not that time, probably when I was a bit younger, in my 20s, being drunk in my girlfriend's car, having my legs hanging out the window, and declaring that I wanted to be drunk all the time because I was so happy and relaxed, and I was just so happy. I was always a happy drunk, and I just felt free. Like there wasn't stressing, I wasn't striving. I just felt in the moment, and I felt free. And I just still remember telling her, I think she told me afterwards, because I was so drunk, I probably didn't remember the next day. You were so drunk, you remember what you said last night? She said, no. She said, you wanted to be drunk all the time. And, when I gave up sort of that drinking culture, the personal growth kind of brings you back to that sense of joy and freedom without the alcohol. But most people think that it's only with alcohol can I feel like that. And so, this is why we have this huge drinking culture, especially in the younger generation, when we feel so insecure about who we are and we're so confused. Like, who am I? What am I doing here? I'll just get drunk and not think about it.
So true. Exactly. And that was where I was coming from. I was doing the binge drinking at the weekend, the gym junkie during the week, trying to lose weight, trying to be more attractive, trying to have a more successful relationship, trying to be top of my job, all of this, trying to hold it all together. So by the time I'd get to Thursday or Friday, I was so over myself because I wasn't so. And then just to have a few drinks, it's like it numbs, it sort of removes that, all of those anxieties, they just fade away momentarily. They come back big time after.
They come back, especially with the hangover on top.
With the worse and paranoia and all of that stuff. But I just, exactly the same as you, it was that simple. I just had a holiday from all of that pressure that was used. So, that was it. I felt relaxed. And then from that place, I could commune and connect with other people and have wonderful, as also I thought, deep conversations, which were probably a lot of nonsense, but at the time it was fantastic.
I know. I used to work in a pub in London when I was around 19, 20, 21. I can't remember. I was young. And you'd see people come in after work, all dolled up, looking beautiful. It was like right on the King's Road. It was, the sort of flashy. And there are lots of punks, and that back in those days, punk was really big. I was sort of on the fringe of punk. I had a bit of a studded belt and, spiky hair. But people would come in looking so sensible and have these lovely, polite conversations, and then you'd watch them get drunk and their conversations turn into gibberish and their demeanour you just watch people fall apart in front of you.
Yes.
It was just eye-opening to a young girl, like watching all these people that looked so successful and beautiful just become these dribbling idiots as they got drunk. And as you said, they thought that they were like having these great conversations. But it was just dribble most of the time anyway.
And the end of the night, mascara all down the face, carrying the shoes, like the work suit all crumpled. And
anyway, at the time you came to see me, you were at that point where you were like asking about how do I, really step on the path and get off the corporate treadmill. And so you and your husband at the time, you did it. You left you bought some property up near Byron Bay. and you moved up there to pursue a dream. Do you want to take us from there?
Yes. So that all happened. So I moved, and that's to cut the story short. Yes, ended up moving to Australia, but did hear a thing in a 12-step meeting saying don't make any major decisions in the first year, which is exactly what. But I'd already heard it after I'd made the major decision. So if anybody's listening, if you do give up alcohol, it is advised during those first year or two just to keep things very simple and not do anything major like move to Australia. But I have since met quite a few people who were in a similar position to me, met a lot of English people who are in Australia for decisions that they made around that. But obviously I don't regret it, but it was a big move. And then I ended up having a sort of nervous system collapse, and I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome and able to leave my job and go through various miracles that happened, which was all around that time when I was seeing you. Lots of miracles unfolded, which I won't go into now, but we ended up moving up to near Byron Bay, a beautiful country property, and I went and studied music full time, did a music degree. So all of the intentions that I'd set out happened, and a lot of that was through personal development and processes, through books and courses of, say for example, I'm just potted history, but say with manifesting, writing down where I wanted to live, what it looked like, that I wanted to study music full time. All of these were huge goals, and at the time in the corporate world I had no idea how I was going to manifest that happening. So,
well, darling one, you've done it.
I've done it.
You're doing amazing work, and you live in the dream. Although the thing about living the dream is you're still, all of us, we still bump up against all the challenges that life brings us, like tech problems and all that stuff. But tell us the story about, I love the story that you and David told about your wedding, because you came from all these different places. Had the corporate world, you had the 12-step program world, you had the personal growth world, you had the spiritual world, sort of the hippie. So you brought all these people together in your wedding day. And I've always felt like it would make such a great movie, because you just had this hilarious story about what went on there.
Oh yes, oh no, it was a wonderful day, and a lot of those people we've never seen them again. We moved up there. We were early days, and so we just invited everybody that we met. We just said, come to our wedding, so they all came, and then we also had friends from the corporate world, and then on my new path there was a beautiful woman, I think, who you put me in touch with, amazing sound healer. Melinda, I think.
Melinda, yeah.
Yeah, Melinda was there. Melinda Patterson.
Yeah. Did she come and sing?
Yes, she came, and she was doing light language transmission.
Yeah.
At the wedding reception, which was really fantastic. But that's kind of there. And then we had people from the corporate world going, "Oh, what's this?" But it was just a huge melting pot of all different people.
I remember you telling me at the time, you and David telling me at the time, watching all these different groups trying to interact with each other, because it's hot and you're outside and you're up near Queensland where it's very hot. People were saying, "Oh, let me help your child and put some,
oh, that's right, yes,
put some sunscreen on your child." And then these hippie people would be like, "Don't put that poison on my child." Yeah, and then there'd be the people getting drunk, and then the AA people saying, "Look at those people getting drunk," shaking. Right. And so everyone had their point of view about what life was about. It's in this melting pot. That's why I thought it would make the most hilarious comedy, with everyone's points of view. The corporate world all very successful and looking beautiful in their high heels on the grass, sinking into the grass, and then the hippies with their bare feet running around.
That is so true. That is exactly what it was like. And we were in that transition. We were kind of in the Venn diagram, in the two bits of the Venn diagram, still corporate world and then wanting to be more earthy, and the sun cream and
the light language.
The light language was wonderful. And then I had all my friends from the music college as well, so we had all musos as well, and it
I know. Funny. When I got married many years ago to my first husband, my daughter's father, I insisted on having a vegetarian wedding. We got this and all my friends, Eastern Suburbs friends, are like, vegetarian. And then they all came up to me after and said, actually, the food was quite nice. And I'm like, seriously? Like, they just, if you can't not eat meat, the food's going to be terrible. It's just like vegetables. You eat vegetables anyway. What's the difference? Anyway, it was funny. It wasn't too alternative, but there was definitely that melting pot of, the students I was studying naturopathy with, and the hippie friends, and the rages, the party people, and the vegetarian menu. Oh my God, no meat. Back in the day.
I know. People freak out. It's becoming. It's a lot more different now.
Absolutely.
I think to have a wedding now with a mixture of people, those people in the corporate world would still, if they were in the corporate world, they would be going to yoga festivals.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of melting and merging a little bit more now. Yes.
20 years later. All right. So take us through. So you're up there you've got married. You're up there on the property trying to carve out a career. What next? What happened next?
So I studied at the conservatorium and at Southern Cross University. I had the most amazing time. That was just so wonderful studying music. I was like a keen gene, sat at the front row going, me. So that was wonderful. And then we ended up moving back down to Sydney for 3 years, where we saw you again because I decided to do a music career down in Sydney and explore a jazz career and do all of that. But then, funnily enough, when I got to Sydney, I went on another bit of a spiritual journey, and we went to India. And so the spiritual music kind of took hold, really. And that's when I made my album with Rick Price. And I was a bit torn again. It was which world am I in? And I was doing jazz, sort of adult contemporary jazz type music, but also chanting. I discovered chanting, and I want to mention also that right at the very beginning of the story, when I just embarked on my spiritual journey and I'd given away the alcohol, etc., and I believe then I started channeling music, because I remember sitting in a car and all of this music was starting to come out. And it wasn't in light language at that point, but Melinda did then introduce me to light language, which I'll talk about later. But yes, so I was down in Sydney and I went to see Rick Price, and I took him all my music, so all my jazz stuff and all my more, what we'll call, would be now classed under the conscious music umbrella. That's the kind of different way of saying new age music, but more conscious, inspirational, spiritual based songs.
So when was that? That was before 2012, because I remember when you were living.
It was before 2012.
Yeah, when you were living in Sydney, you were living up where I was living up on the Northern Beaches, and I went to your place, and we had a few gatherings at your place, and one of the gatherings we were talking about what's going to happen in 2012. I remember either
That's
you
right.
or David. I think David asked me, "Do you know what's going to happen?" I said, "Yeah, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to have a big birthday. It's like, is the world going to end?" We were all worried about the world ending, but looking back on 2012 from now, there was a really huge shift in 2012. Like when I meet people and interview people, that like so many people had huge awakenings around that time. So it wasn't like this big end of the world, bang, but these just activations all over the world of people waking up, and you only see it like later on down the track when they've sorted themselves out and now they're channeling or doing something, and you ask them, when did that happen? Oh, in 2012. So there was this really huge shift in 2012 that we were discussing at your place. Did you?
Yes, and it did happen. It did happen definitely then, because then I can't remember the chronological order of it. That's right. Then Max was born shortly after then, and then we moved. Oh no, hang on, no, 2012. Yeah, we moved back up to. That's right.
So Max being your son.
Yes, Max was born, and then we moved back up to the Shannon. Yes, Max, my son, who is now 12, he was born, and we moved back up to the Northern Rivers again. And on the 2012 point, I was actually quite worried. I had some friends saying, stay away from the coast. I'm being really honest. They said, stay away from the coast was it the 2012? That was the pivotal.
Well, they're still
day,
saying that.
I think.
People are still saying that. I had a young channeler who on the show who's channeling Krishna, and she was working in the corporate world too. Like, she woke up about 2 years ago, and she was guided to move away from the coast too. So she's moved up sort of past Mullen Way, up in the Northern Rivers. But yeah, so people are still saying stay away from the coast, and I'm like, oh well, if there's going to be some disaster on the coast, I'm going because I'm on the coast.
That's right. And at the time, I mean, we were 40 minutes inland from the coast, but they said just on the 21st of December, which was the portal day. So I said, okay, I'm definitely not going down to Byron on those days. And I said that, right, that's it, 100%. And then I got a call from my beautiful friend Sangeeta. This was about 3 or 4 weeks before, saying, oh, would you like to come and sing with us at the Uplift Festival in Byron Bay, which is this fabulous festival. And I ended up performing there as a soloist and with Sangeeta and Mantra Ray, and we did this amazing show. So that all went out the window, and I thought, oh well, if I get to do music, I'll so we all went down there, and yes, it wasn't the big disaster that people said it was going to be. It was this amazing awakening that it was a perfect place to be. Uplift Festival was all about, and it was on those days, those late days leading up to Christmas, for that exact purpose of having the festival fall on the 21st of the 12th. And it was palpable being there, and they had incredible speakers from all over the world talking about environmental issues and issues of oneness and joining everyone together. And so it was such a privilege to be there and experience the opposite of what the media, the people saying, oh, it's all
disaster.
A lot of scaremongering. And in fact, it was the opposite of that. It was this huge awakening, shifting into more oneness consciousness and bringing like-minded people together.
It's interesting how we can live, like I was talking about your wedding, we can live inside our bubbles and not really see what else happens until you go to a wedding and you bring all those little bubbles together. But 2012 there was this huge awakening, and next year 2020 there will be even more mass awakenings too, I've been told by my mob and different people. So it's going to happen all over again. We were all talking about it before 2012, but 2020 is much the same. So yeah, look out, kids. But it doesn't happen so that you notice it. It just unfolds. It's not like bang, you notice it. It just unfolds. You just meet more and more people, like when I met you, saying, I've got to change my life. I've got to do something different. I've got to sing. I've got to channel night language or...
Yes, and that's such a radical departure from, on one level, from where I was outwardly. It was such a big departure. But I was reading one of my old diaries from when I was about 13, and I can see, even just from the writing there, I can still see it's the same delicate person in there. There's no real change. I just tried on a few different masks for a bit just to fit in, but the core of who we are hasn't changed. We've just sort of morphed into something else.
Okay, so we had a few tech problems, but we're back. Let's talk about the light language. When did the light language kick in? So you met Melinda like about 20 years ago, and she was channeling it. When did it start to download? Because I have to say to everyone who's listening, I went to one of your concerts recently in Sydney, and I was just blown away at your level of connection and what you were doing. And I had a profound shift, listening to what you were doing. It was amazing. It was, amazing things going on. So it's going on, honey. You've got it all going on.
Thank you. Thanks, Karen. Oh, it was wonderful to have you there. It was a pretty magical night. Yeah, there was lots happening on that night. So the timing of it was you told me about Melinda. You did, and I think I told you around this time when just before I became ill. Oh, that's right. That's part of my story. I became ill and was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, which was all around the time that I saw you. Which that enabled me to give up my job and move to the Northern Rivers, because I received financial assistance through insurance because I was so ill. And so that was a pivotal change. And around that time, I was very ill. That's right. And I spoke with you. And I was listening to a woman called Camilla Nova. And I think you may have even told me about her with the crystal singing bowls. And I was very ill with this chronic fatigue syndrome, which I believe was lots of other things, but it was good that it had a label. I just couldn't think straight. Everything was very confused, and I would just be listening to these crystal bowls, was lying down and listening to Camilla's music, and I kept having visions of myself in a healing room singing, and with my hands just above someone's, and I kept seeing that image, and I told you, and you said, you've got to go and see Melinda, and that coincided with a trip up to near Byron Bay. And I went and had a session with her, and it was really profound, and she was speaking in light language and delivering light codes, and I just remember not being fazed by it at all. It felt very familiar, and I felt very at home with it. And I was extremely depleted and very ill physically, almost to the point where I was going to have to cancel the trip up there because I was so ill. That really, really turned things around for me. And then I went to see her at the Starlight Festival in Bangalore, which is a beautiful festival. It happens in January, at the beginning of January in 2020. And I went to her workshop, and she was talking and singing in light language, I think mainly speaking, and then she invited us. It was just a little mini workshop in the middle of the festival, and I sat there and was drinking in every word she said. And then she invited us all to, in the audience, she said, okay, just allow the light language, just trust, don't listen to your chattering mind, it's going to tell you you're being silly, just allow the words to flow. And even at the time, my ego went, I'm not going to be able to do this. And all of a sudden, this stuff started pouring out of my mouth in a very humble situation, sitting in a little village hall on a plastic chair surrounded by lots of other people. But all this sound and light language came out. And to begin with, it was very tentative. And this was the very early days of it. And I started to do little sessions with people for friends and just be with them and sing them little songs in light language, and I've done a little bit of Reiki, so having that hands-on contact as well. And that was early in the days. And then I went on to study, so that was the beginning. And then after that, I went to uni and studied more technically the music. And so the light language then, and that's right. And at the time, I did a teacher training course whilst I was studying singing at the conservatorium. I did Chris James's teacher training. He's an amazing sound healer and beautiful being, and he did a 2-week intensive teacher training course in sound healing and toning. Especially, we did a lot of using how to use pure sculpted sound on. Excuse me, my dog's just bear with me.
I can hear him. Alrighty, so you did a workshop with Chris James. Bless Chris James. I met him again after years recently. He was doing a talk in Sydney at a conscious living festival here a couple of years ago. Yeah, he was big. He was big back then. He's not really singing anymore. He's doing more corporate work. But so it all shifted then. I think we should start. Is there anything more to your story you want to say, or shall we get to a sound? Let's do a sound activation or some light language. So we're going to go straight into a bit of a sound activation, sound healing, and listen to Lou's incredible voice. And she's just going to channel this for all of you that are listening and watching. It's just going to come through. Anything else you want to say about it, Lou?
No, just timing-wise, because as with this, once I go, then we're just getting an idea of how long.
10 minutes.
Okay.
Just a little message, and for whatever, who's ever listening, for what's happening in the now moment, bringing us
That's
into
it.
the end of the year, beginning of the new year, and just clearing some energies. Go for it.
Thank you, Karen. So yes, thank you. So it's my intention to bring through light, language, sound, sonic frequencies for all that are listening at this time, and also for all people that are drawn to listen in the coming weeks, months, possibly years, to bringing through this activation in sound and light language.
So
Woohoo.
Just beautiful, just divine, sublime, divine, sublime.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was gorgeous. There's so many flavors that come through. There's like this real Tibetan thing that happens, like this Tibetan monk, sort of like that deep, low chanting like the Tibetans do. It's just incredible. And then, like we said at the beginning, you can go from that really deep to that really high. You've got this huge range. Oh, it's amazing. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just step out of the way, basically, and I'm a pipe or a conduit for what comes through. So yes, and it always comes through, despite tech issues or whatever is happening. I'm learning to be very centered in the center of that, at the request of the energy that's coming through. So whatever happens, sometimes energetically, I don't know what it is with this energy. Technology can play up even in the last minute if you're no matter how prepared one is. Random things can happen, but then if I stay centered, I can always troubleshoot to still bring the sound. So there will always be a solution if I keep my cool, and the sound that it's like, come on, we're ready. We want it. The energy wants to be delivered, and it happens. So
Yeah.
however it happens, I will find a way to facilitate. And that's just me particularly. I use technology, so I use microphones and keyboards and technology because also I believe that the sound resonant quality, when I add microphones and delays and reverbs, that also is part of what I'm doing to deliver the sound in a certain form of expression and at a certain frequency. So that's my mission, is to be doing this music with the world's best equipment. I have visions of huge stages with it, just the biggest stacks of the best quality speakers that will bring this incredible clarity and substance. And I was saying that to somebody a couple of years ago, and I was saying, I don't know why am I wanting to strive that? Why am I wanting it at that level? And they said because that is when it could be delivered in any format, but when it could be delivered in like a huge stadium style level of sound quality, that also is part of the delivery system as well. So that and she said, you are wanting to bring through the highest possible form of expression of this energy. So that really made sense to me, because I was thinking, I don't want to be yearning for stuff, but just be grateful for the beautiful sound equipment that we've got and what we're using now. And even just the raw voice with no microphone, that's also extremely powerful. But there's this, yes, there's something that happens with certain sonic frequencies, including bass frequencies as well, which is why I also really am passionate about doing conscious dance music and bringing in, so using electronica as well in that blend with the voice. So it's all channeled on all levels. So even the electronic equipment is working in a channeled way.
I'm just getting a download now. Before they were saying sometimes we hold the vision for something that will happen, even beyond our lifetime. And then I'm saying, because I'm thinking about you and other people that have held really big visions for light language and sound and stuff like that. And then I'm questioning them and saying, well, why does it have to be beyond our lifetime? And they said, well, you'll see that things will shift. The more people that tune into this frequency, the more availability there'll be for it to be on a bigger scale. So you'll see that happening, you'll see that happening more and more. So instead of it just being little podcasts or just one-on-one, there'll be these, now it's in festivals, but then there'll be these big sort of concerts and things that it'll start to expand, the more people that tune into it. So they're just giving me that vision now. And it doesn't have to be beyond our lifetime, but it definitely, you're, a way shower. It'll definitely be much more expanded beyond our lifetime. Yeah.
Yes.
Like
and then we'll be back to
we might come back. Yeah, we can either walk into a body and like,
yeah.
I want to have some of that, or we can come back as a baby, whatever. But yeah, so time, yeah, we don't have to worry about getting it all done in this lifetime. We've got eternity to play with. We've got eternity to play with.
That's right.
But yeah, having that big vision, holding that vision. Because as you were talking about your big vision, I was seeing, the two cellos, the guys that play the cello, they're called the two cellos. They play in amphitheatres, they play to packed audiences, but their music is, it's mainstream music, but it's done in a sort of way that they're using the cello to play rock music or, or sort of like hip hop or whatever, like all sort of genres, which is what normally you don't hear from the cello, you hear classical music. So they're breaking the mold in that respect, and they're playing to filled out, they're European, and they use the old stadiums that they have that are sort of like ruins, and they light up these stadiums, and there's like thousands of people in these stadiums listening to this music. And as you were sharing your vision with me, I saw an old like amphitheater stadium and people singing light language and conscious music, but
yes,
we're not ready for that just yet. We're getting close, but we're not ready for that just yet. So but it'll happen. Yeah,
it sure will, because people will be feeling it as well. So that's it, they'll be feeling that, and it's so palpable when people do get it, not get it, but when it touches people and it speaks to people, it's a palpable physical effect that they have. And I sometimes find it hard to articulate. So the way I do it is I just go, it's this, and I just go, it's the two thumbs up, which just means it's good. And that's because if I go beyond trying to articulate any of this, it's beyond words. Whereas for me, the two thumbs up just goes, yeah, that's it. Correct. That's it. That's the thing. That's the spot. And it's going to resonate with people that are vibing in a similar vibe. And not everybody is. It's a bit like a wedding, right? So there are a whole lot of thought forms and ideas and ideologies and belief systems, that don't resonate with each other. And some people will hear it and go, oh my God. And some people will go, oh, I don't get it. What? So because it just depends on where they're vibing, where they're placing their focus and where they're vibing. So as we shift into a more unified, more galactic perspective as a collective, it will vibe with more people. But there'll be a lot of people that go, I don't get it. Not the people that listen to my show, but, the mainstream audience. They'll go, oh yeah, pretty. Like I remember Ananara, my friend Ananara, that's, you so remind me of her when you channel the language of light. But she, her sister would say, oh, that screeching stuff that you do, she really didn't get it initially. Oh, that silly stuff that you do. So it does resonate with those that are ready for it, and it won't with people that are not. Yeah, because it is a frequency shift, and we're all going through frequency shifts. So a bit like, music. Some people love punk rock and some like classical. So whatever resonates. That's right.
Oh, darling one, it's been such a joy and a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Sharing your stories and your beautiful galactic celestial voice and vision with us. It's just been such bliss.
I've loved it, and I love listening to your podcast. So I'm so honoured to be a part of that, part of the family, and and people sharing so deeply. It's a very safe space. To share the real deep stuff that's happening, and share our gifts and how we're connecting in with this new energy and these shifts that are happening. So yeah, it's wonderful. So thank you.
Look out, 2020. Here we come.
You're spreading the word, and it's reaching people, and it will be reaching more and more people.
Yeah,
more and more people will find you.
Absolutely. So, I don't know why it's taken me this long to put you on the show. Actually, I don't know. I just sort of, sometimes it just like I go, duh, why didn't I think of, Lou? Anyway, but I think it was when I saw you in Sydney recently, which was a couple of months ago now, I just thought, wow, I have to, put you on the show and share your gifts with the world, because they are amazing. And do you ever, you do international stuff too, don't you? Travel?
Yes. Yes, I'm hoping to come to England and Europe in the next couple of years. I've just got to sort that out. I'm doing a lot of sound healing journeys, my own events, running my own sound healing journeys in Sydney, Melbourne, and other cities, Brisbane, and up in the Sunshine Coast. And then I'll solidify that and then take it also to Europe as well, and maybe the States. So that's coming up. And yes, I'm open to coming to festivals and connecting with people, because I know that's the thing, if I turn up and I'm out there, then I make I make the connections with those I'm meant to make the connections with, so I'm open to whatever unfolds. So yes, anywhere in the world, as long as my son Max can come. That's just
so lots more to unfold. So for people listening on audio, you can find Lou at louvanstone.com. And you've got a Instagram and YouTube and all that sort of stuff.
And Facebook, Facebook is the name, and I'm just mastering the sort of subtleties of Facebook marketing, which is a great tool. And that I'm Lou Vanstone Music, so you can like me on Facebook. And then Instagram, I'm on there, but I'm studying up on all of these marketing tools. So I will be genning up more on Instagram in the near future. But Facebook's the main one I'm using at the moment.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Thanks again.
Blessings, Karen. Thank you so much.
How beautiful is Lou Vanstone? Her music and her sound and light language, it's just, you should get her albums, honestly. I'm not getting a cut for getting her albums. She is amazing. She did say to me, if you want a free download, if you join my newsletter or email me, I'll send you a link to get a free download, and she's offering that as a gift to our listeners if you want to hear more of her music without purchasing a, CD or whatever. How do you buy music these days? It's usually MP3s. But all her albums are amazing. As she said, or as I said, there's 9 of them, and they are absolutely divine. Really just beautiful, divine. She's amazing. Thanks again for watching another show, Accentuating the Positive. Coming up to the end of the year, where are we today? We're in December. We're still burning down under. 6th of December and the second, about to go into the second week of December. Yes, there's just smoke everywhere in Sydney. You can't hang your washing out. It just gets filled with ash. It's incredible what's happening in this part of the world. Wrapping up 2019, going into 2020. I wonder what the beginning of 2020 has in store. But as I said on Facebook, I haven't seen a blue sky for a few weeks. It's just been a haze of smoke. There's just so many bushfires burning around Australia at the moment. So fun times, fun times. But with all the tech problems that Lou and I had today, there's that message that I talk about on the show all the time, that regardless of what is happening, can you find your peace? Can you find peace of mind? Can you not make it matter in your stress level? Can you just say, oh, well, this is happening, but how can I find my peace? How can I find my joy? How can I find my bliss again? Because, yes, your bliss is not about what's happening to you. It's about finding it regardless of what's happening to you. Happy for no reason. Not looking for reasons for your happiness or your bliss or your calm or your connection to source, but finding it inside the chaos, inside the drama, finding it, being deliberate about finding it. And that's the journey we're on, isn't it? This is called life. This contrasting, polarized journey that we come into to return to love again inside the drama that we all experience. So I hope you can do that over this holiday season. I hope you can find your bliss, find your peace, find your connection to your source, your mob, your galactic guides, and let's see what's in store for us in 2020. Maybe you will have some sort of activation even listening to these shows and start downloading wisdom from higher realms or light language or music, and I'll have you on the show in the next couple of years. Oh, yes. Who's coming up? I've got another sound mistress, sound master. galactic goddess coming up next week as well, a shamanic sound person. So a bit more music towards the end of the year, and then another person who also channels galactic and language of light. So as we're finishing off the end of the year, we're going music and galactic. I hope you're all having a great time. Remember, if you want to join us in the Inner Sanctum, Courtney Beck is coming in a week or so to share her story with us, and you get to meet her. She's been on the show, Watch My Show with Courtney. It was beautiful, profound and scary. That was the person I was talking about who started, she was in the corporate world and then started channeling Krishna, and Krishna told her to move away from the coast. And so she did, like Lou did 20 odd years ago. So we'll be quizzing Courtney and seeing what's been happening since I've had her on the shows. She's been touring the United States, and I think they're back in Australia now. So that's coming up in the Inner Sanctum. And of course you get to meet me, and you can quiz me and my guides as well. I'm online once or twice a month in the Inner Sanctum. Remember to buy that book, Awakened by Death, reminders of how we can find our bliss even inside this dramatic contrast that we live here. Death seems to be the thing that freaks people out the most. It's a great read, and love you all. See you later. Bye for now.